Well, my editing skills are crap, but can the same thing be said about Bloodshot? Stick around and find out. Hey, I'm Peter Franson from christiangeekcentral.com and Spirit Blade Productions. This is my uncut review of Bloodshot. The synopsis on IMDb reads, Ray Garrison, an elite soldier who was killed in battle, is brought back to life by an advanced technology that gives him the ability of superhuman strength and fast healing. I cut out a little bit of the synopsis here because it does give a little spoilers, so this is the spoiler-free version of IMDb's synopsis. With his new abilities, he goes after the man who killed his wife. He soon comes to learn that not everything he learns can be trusted. The true question is, can he even trust himself? Alright, so let's talk about the story, basically, just kind of the vibe this thing gives off. What is this animal? Well, it's based on a Valiant comic book property that I'm not familiar with. I haven't read. I've seen images of the Bloodshot character before, but I've not read any of the comics. And I think I might have even guessed from watching this, if I'd never heard of the character, that this was based on a comic book property, because it's got that sci-fi action superhero vibe. There's no costumes, but there are a handful of characters with strong thematic concepts, like that are all based around artificial augmentation of some kind. So there's a guy with robotic legs and like a harness with, you know, kind of almost spidery like arms that he can use. There's a guy who's blind but has like a harness with a bunch of cameras on it, so he sees through all of those cameras. There's a lady that breathes through like a thing on her chest that makes her immune to all kinds of poisons or toxins or anything that would be bad for humans to breathe, you know. And then you've got the main character, Ray, or Bloodshot, I guess maybe is what we should call him, who has this healing ability and extra strength and stuff like that. So it has that kind of comic book vibe in terms of the concepts of the characters involved. It also specifically has I don't want to say a Marvel movie vibe, but it's going for that. They're going for laughs with these comic relief characters, one in particular that you could just stamp comic relief on his forehead. Like every time he opens his mouth, it's like, oh, we're going to go for another joke here, going to go for another joke, you know. And that all fell flat for me. Plenty of action in this movie, but it totally lacked tension in the experience for me. The character's main power is regeneration, and even faster regeneration than, say, Wolverine has. And though this power does have limits for him, those limits are never really felt by the hero. The hero never struggles with his limits up to and including the climax, you know. And it is a hard power to deal with, you know, but I think there are ways that you can make a hero that is completely invulnerable or that has these kinds of regeneration abilities. There are limits that you can place on them, either related to that power or related to something else, some other limitation that they have. Maybe it's an emotional limitation or something, that, you know, you can place limitations on that kind of character, and they just didn't do that really effectively at all for me. There were characters that were aware of his limitations, but the hero himself never seemed aware or certainly not bothered or affected at all by his limitations. So I just didn't feel any of the action, any of the intensity that I think I was supposed to feel. The most interesting facet of this whole movie is the way the hero is being manipulated by others, and I won't say more than that. But it's really an interesting concept that I wish would kind of continue if this movie continues into a franchise, but I don't think that's going to be the case. It's only conceptually interesting. That's why it feels like a missed opportunity. It's a really conceptually interesting method of manipulation, and but it doesn't, in the execution, provoke any emotion. I don't really feel anything for this character as a result of the way he's being manipulated, or to the extent that he's being manipulated. The supporting characters, I also thought, had very little personality and are pretty simplistic. I imagine they would like to make sequels with this movie, but I just can't imagine being excited or interested in them at all. Let's talk about the cast briefly. Vin Diesel does grim and vengeful just fine, but I thought there should have been more emotion in his reactions to a couple of events. And I just don't know that he has the range, in what he can emote to really be up for that. So it's understanding that they maybe didn't even shoot for it, while they were filming the movie. But it felt like something that was missing. I really wanted to connect with his character on just a more human, relatable human level, and I just didn't feel like I could do that, and that his performance wasn't helping that in any way. There are two love interests for the hero, and both have little to no personality and seem to be merely there to be stoic and beautiful, and be someone that he's either potentially interested in, or someone that he, I guess, deeply, deeply cares about, and so is driven to, is based on his deep felt emotions for them. But again, I wasn't feeling that myself in the relationship and how it was executed in the interaction between the characters. And whether from the delivery, the script, or both, all of the comic relief character jokes just fell flat for me. But, just a little notice for those unfamiliar with my reviews, I have not laughed at most of the Marvel movies. So if you find yourself chuckling at most Marvel movies, then you might get some chuckles out of this one too. But it just, is another one of these movies that's going after a kind of humor that does not work at all for me. So talking about the stunts and visuals a bit, this movie, if you watch the trailer, is really trying to sell itself, I think, based on the action and the visuals. And it has a lot of those things, but I didn't feel the stakes at all. And I need to, no matter how spectacular the action is, if I don't feel any emotional stakes, then I'm just bored and and I'm more apt to see the flaws and the shortcomings of the visual effects and stuff. And worse yet, in this movie, the most spectacular moments featured CGI character replacement that offered plastic-looking faces and animations, at least to my cursed eyes that seem to be able to pick out CGI more than most other people. And they even dared to feature these CGI character replacements in a slow-motion shot that really exposed the faces and therefore the artificiality of the whole thing to me. So, I mean, it's gotten better. It's gotten better since, The Matrix Reloaded and, the original Spider-Man trilogy with Tobey Maguire. But that's not saying a ton. It's not saying much at all, I don't think. As far as themes, there are some themes of having control over one's choices and one's own aspirations compared to, say, being controlled by or subject to others, but it's handled too broadly to, I think, be saying anything in particular. Is it talking about a person's relationship to their parents, to their government, to God? What do they have in mind? I don't think they maybe have anything specific in mind, that, any kind of specific message or any kind of parallel in the real world to the controllers and the manipulators, that are in this movie. It's not a movie that I think will trigger any worthwhile thoughts or conversation on real-life issues for almost every viewer. All right, so I have no idea what your tastes are in movies, but if I were a time traveler, I'd go back in time and say, Peter, oh man, skip this one. The trailer does look intriguing and enticing because of all the sci-fi concepts that are on display, but it's just not going to execute on those things for you in a way that is interesting or emotionally involving. If a sequel gets made with intriguing trailers for that one, look specifically to see if they are intriguing potentially emotionally, because you don't need another one of these. You need something different to shake up this series and get you connected to it. If there's a trailer for a sequel that makes you think that'll be the case with the sequel, then, watch this one cheaply or free if you can to get caught up on the origin story of the character, so that you can potentially enjoy the sequel. But as it is, this was a substanceless, emotionally detached experience that you will very quickly forget. You can get my spoiler-filled reactions to Bloodshot today in my Spoiler Car video series, just one of many perks available for your support at patreon.com/spiritblade productions. This one has an MPAA rating of PG-13 for intense sequences of violence, some suggestive material, and language. All right, those are my thoughts. I'd love to get yours in the comments below. Please like, share, subscribe, click that bell, whatever you want to do to share this content and stay connected to it, I would be grateful for. I want to thank the Spirit Blade Insiders for making this review possible. For more information, visit patreon.com/spiritbladeproductions. Then, I hope you'll join us soon over at christiangeekcentral.com as we continue to geek out and seek the truth. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. We've got a ton going on here at Spirit Blade Productions and Christian Geek Central, including our in-depth Bible study for geeks, movie, game, and other entertainment reviews or commentary, live streams, Christian geek news, original audio dramas, and tons more. And on top of all that, you can become a Spirit Blade insider with an influential voice and get access to exclusive content and rewards. It's your involvement as a patron that will keep all of this going and growing, so I want to thank you for your consideration in that. For more information, please check out our Patreon page through the link below at patreon.com/spiritbladeproductions. Thanks for listening.